Hi, welcome back to Lee Jasper Drive Time. Well, this week in Post Black Lives Matter, we saw the BBC commission a whole series of black programmes, one of which led by the legendary and award-winning film producer Steve McQueen, was Small Axe, a series of 3 programmes. First started with the Mangrove 9, a story of how this organisation in West London, an organisation I was happy to be a chair of for over a decade, fought against the abuses of the persecution of Notting Hill Police Station in an attempt to falsely jail them under riotous affray and fences. And I watched that programme, I was absolutely delighted. And then it was followed by Lovers Rock. Now I must admit, when I first saw Lovers Rock, because I was an old sound boy and I was the guy that carried the boxes up and down countless church hall, into church hall community centres and up and down two up, two down houses in Moss Tide and Tuxteth and Birmingham and so on. I looked at it from a purist point of view. And I was actually critical of it when I first saw it. But after I started to watch it again, and I had to watch it again, such was the hue and cry on social media about Lovers Rock, I thought, let me have a look at this again. And when I did, I thought it was a much more nuanced, beautiful homage to the Lovers Rock scenario. But the third programme in the series, which aired just recently, was Leroy Logan's Red, White and Blue. And I got so excited for that programme. It actually felt like I was back in the day, and I saw a black person on the TV. You knew they were coming on and you got really excited. That's how I was feeling watching these programmes. But I want to discuss principally Lovers Rock, but the whole series, which I think was a fantastic series. I'm recounting my view about Lovers Rock. I actually think it's a beautiful love letter to the Lovers Rock period. It's not a documentary. It's not meant to be a documentary. It is a stylistic, artistic homage to the area, to the period in our lives. And I'm joined on screen now by Sara Ahmed, cultural critic sometimes, worked with us on the, or I worked with her, I should say, on campaigning against the human zoo, as well as a writer and many other things, too many to mention. Sara, thanks for being with us today. And delighted to have you with us. I know you've had to be patient, so let me apologise for that, but we're delighted to have you. Your take, please, on the whole series and Lovers Rock in particular.
Okay, first of all, Lee, you've got my name wrong.
Did I say Ahmed? It's Sara Amanda. And I'm always calling you Ahmed. Why am I always calling you Ahmed? I have no idea. Well, let me get that right. Sara Amanda.
It's Sara Amanda, but it's a small thing, don't worry about
That's
it.
my Mancunian accent.
Yeah, I know. We're almost family anyway, so I thought that Small Axe was absolutely brilliant. The whole series, I'm so in awe of it, and I think what we've done is we've brought representation to the BBC in our own way. We've controlled the narrative and we've told the story the way we've wanted to tell it, and it's beautiful to see representation. I just want to say with Lovers Rock, I want to give a massive shout out to Cortia Newland, who actually co-wrote that. And he also co-wrote Red, White and Blue, which we saw just Sunday gone. So I think, you're right. It's a homage, it's artistic, it's a sort of like stream of consciousness. It's quite abstract and quite conceptual. And I understand that people are not necessarily used to that. But no, it wasn't a documentary. It wasn't Melanick Shabaz's The Story of Lovers Rock. It was almost like a fly on the wall. It was like we were there. And it had so many layers and so many meanings to it. I was quite disappointed with some of the feedback and some of the stuff that I saw online. I found it very problematic because, it makes me question, what is it exactly that we want? We complain that there's no representation, and then we get the representation. People are not happy with that. Do you know what I mean? They want to sort of like nitpick it and say, we didn't sell rice and peas at a dance, we sold white rice. We didn't sit on toilet seats. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. They're playing the wrong... I think we've got to move away from that and see a beautiful piece of art, and it's black excellent as well. It's art that we've created.
I think you're right. I think that, when I looked at it first, as I say, I looked from a purist point of view because I was just a sound boy who carried the boxes. I thought, yeah, it didn't go like that, it didn't do that. And I'm a Mancunian, so you've got to forgive me because we're kind of unreconstructed in our cultural appreciation of nuance. We have to kind of cultural acclimatise ourselves to the more aesthetic interpretations of our art form. But I've watched it twice now, and the more I watch it, the more I fell in love with it again. So I've got to apologise to Courtier Newland here on live TV because I think he's due an apology. He's certainly due an apology from me. But I also think that I was shocked and surprised at the strength of feeling. It was actually the strength of feeling of the community who were criticising it that made me go and look at it again, because anytime the whole crowd starts shouting, go left, I'm inevitably going to turn right. So looking at it again, I thought to myself, A, the strength of feeling is not warranted, and B, actually, if you look at this in its proper artistic form, it is a wonderful little, capture of life, just one day, that is a beautiful sort of reflection with themes within it of that whole era.
Yeah, and I think that we've got to go beyond just sort of like, here's a program, watch it, it tells you everything that's happening. What I thought was really good and what came out of this, and if you went on Twitter and you had a look at, say, the millennials, they absolutely loved it, do you know what I mean? And they were talking beyond just what they saw on the screen. They were unpacking the layers, they were talking about ritual. There was some really beautiful moments in there. There was beautiful cinematography, the grade was amazing, the texture of the way it was shot was brilliant. And I found like that Silly Games scene, yeah, it was quite extended, but it reminded me of being in church, and like when you're getting in the spirit and you just kind of hold the moment and you keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And they're things that we can remember, and they're things that we can identify with. The clothes, just certain little things, and I think people saying that, it didn't represent us in a good light, and they were very sort of like, this is how white people are going to see us. It's like, why do we care? What 120 minutes isn't going to revolutionise, however many years of institutional and systemic racism. That's not what it was meant to do. What it was meant to do was for us to reminisce. It was very cleverly done, and I think there were lots of layers. I know a lot of people had issues with the Rasta guy, like getting in the spirit, but then people get in the spirit at church as well. And if you've ever been to a Just Shaka dance, man's totally getting in the spirit. If you've ever been down to certain sound systems during a carnival and you see people getting in the spirit, and it reminded me of when we did Exhibit B and we just got to the Barbican, and we were, the drums were playing and stuff. We all got in the spirit then. I remember we had to pull someone.
I got so much in the spirit, I almost got arrested.
I remember Ngoma. Ngoma was our chief steward, and he was like, my man was doing African dancing and everything. I got in the spirit. It was such a beautiful moment. And I remember us holding that space for quite a while. Do you know what I mean? Whilst we just let the spirit come over us. And I think these are some of the things that we forget. We are spiritual people. And when the music hits us and when the beat hits us,
we feel no pain.
We feel no way. We don't care how we look, because it's not about how we look. It's about that release. It's quite cathartic. And so I think I urge everyone to go back and watch it again. And not from the perspective of, I'm looking for a documentary, but watch it and get into the spirit of it, I
think you're right. I looked at that piece where they were singing Silly Games, and I thought Silly Games was a metaphor for our complex community life anyway, because lots of people do play silly games. And secondly, that it wasn't that's what happened in a dance. There was a spiritual moment that was trapped in time that was being repeated and experienced viscerally by the people in that room. And I saw it for what it was, which was a bit like you, a church moment, a spiritual moment. And there were elements of it that people will say, well, it showed this and it made us all out. Look, if you went to blues, good things, bad things, indifferent things went on, just like they did in nightclubs and everywhere else. No bad, no worse, but they did go on. And therefore it's valid to be reflected in there. It wasn't the whole balance of the thing, because, we saw the mummies cooking in the kitchen. And I thought their singing of Silly Games, which became a motif throughout the programme, was also really wonderful, because I remember my mum doing the same thing. And so, you know, I think that people should go back and look at it again, and I would certainly urge them to do that. So you heard it here from today from Sara Ahmed. I'm not going to detain you any longer because time is pushing on and you've waited a long time, but I'm delighted for you to be here today. We look for, what are you up to next? What can we look forward to from Sara Ahmed?
You call me Sara Ahmed one time. One more time. That's going to be my new name. So basically, I have I've got a film in the Buff Festival, which is going to be on Apple TV at some point, so look out for that. It's called Where Is God Now, and it's quite a deep, wonderful film. So you can follow me and you can watch it. Massive shout out to the production team that made it possible. And yeah, some good stuff coming out. Look out for something coming out next year. I'm working with a theatre company here in Birmingham to do something during the month of August for Marcus Garvey.
Wow.
So yeah, some good stuff.
Sara Ahmed, Amandla. I'm still getting it wrong. I'm still tuning it up. But it's been a delight to speak to you, Sara. It's lovely. Wish you well in the future. And once again, I'm giving my formal apologies to Courtney Newland for criticising Lovers Rock when in fact that is a gem of a programme. Well, you've been watching us here at Lee Jasper Drive. Thank you very much, Sara. We'll speak to you again and have you back on. So thanks for joining us. And we'll take a short break and we'll be back with you after the adverts.